Leading Indiana to a shock national title, Fernando Mendoza dominated college football in 2026, racking up every award in the process. Transferring from Cal, it was a fairy tale story, taking the Hoosiers on an undefeated journey that led to him beating his childhood team for the title. The goofy gunslinger looks locked to go number one, so let's discuss his top traits, where he struggles, and how he might fit into the Kubiak offense. We start where we always do, with the QB's ability to deliver the ball. Mendoza shows effortless velocity out of the hand, with the zip and control to both layer and laser the football. One of the best tests for arm strength and placement is the cross hash out, and this is practically his patented throw. The ball's in rhythm with the windup, in sync with the cut, and it zips effortlessly to the boundary. Here it is again. The delivery is timed to the break, and the ball whistles to the space, leading his man for the first down. The arm is easily able to access the deep part of the field too. Wisconsin are playing cover one robber here, and when the safety rolls down to take away the middle, Mendoza knows he can squeeze the post before the other safety can recover. Focus on the hip rotation here, generating the power and dropping a beauty over the shoulder before the window closes. And this is a really pretty ball that shows off the arm and touch ability. Iowa gets tricky sending a sim nickel blitz, rolling into a cover 8 over the trips, with the DC betting on Mendoza not being able to attack the far boundary. But don't test Fernando, as he sniffs out the space, launching this long and into a bucket on the sideline between closing defenders. Dime. Mendoza's arm talent also makes him an excellent touch ball thrower, something we love at TF. This allows a QB access to areas that are otherwise locked down by the defensive structure, layering the ball to a receiver for a soft catch. The slot is running a Seattle route here, a great counter to the quarters coverage. The safety is watching the 2 and quarters, so when he sees him bend his route in, he snaps down to take it away, only for the receiver to cut boundary and burn him to the outside. It's a nice in-rhythm ball, but the touch is the highlight, laying this out for his receiver to run into. And more good touch here versus Penn State. Both backers blitz, cramping the pocket, but Mendoza knows the slot fade is on, hanging tall and really getting the hip rotation and flick to get this to drop over the shoulder. Unfortunately, it's dropped. The number one trait you have to see in a quarterback to make it as a pro is anticipation. Raiders fans will be happy to hear it's there in abundance, although it's significantly better throwing towards the boundary, and we'll need to talk about middle field throwing later. Look how early this boundary hitch is thrown, taking away any ability for the corner to crash on the route, and he's even slipping trying to cover. The ball's thrown right at the top of the dropback, 3 steps before the cut, showing good arm angle to bend it round the rusher. Against Oregon, this is an aggressive and early throw into the bench concept. Indiana has 2 outbreakers at different levels, and with Oregon sending the corner blitz, it's 2-on-2 to the boundary. The backer takes the flat away, and the safety stays high, protecting the deep route, allowing Mendoza to time one at the cut, placing the ball 1 foot in front of the numbers for the first down. And we've saved the best for last, with a ball that requires anticipation and bravery to win them the game. It was a back-and-forth battle versus Penn State, and Indiana find themselves inside the 5 with the chance to win it, but are facing an all-out pressure. Mendoza drifts back to buy some time, and with 2 incoming for the crunch, hangs high for the jump pass, throwing a fadeaway dime to the post. It's anticipated around the hanging defender beautifully, and this man climbs the ladder and brings down the prayer. Another favorite of Mendoza's that requires anticipation is the back shoulder ball. He's great at reading when the corner is sitting over the top of the goal ball, and instead, hitting the back shoulder space. Excellent here through the pressure, reading the corner turn ready for the deep shot, hanging in through the hit, and finding his receiver stalling up in space. And they go to it in the biggest moments too. Indiana clearly coaches this well because the entire receiving corps is ready for it, and Mendoza ices the natty with terrific help from Charlie Becker. An area we see more anticipation, and something new Raiders head coach Clint Kubiak will be excited about, is his ability to throw on the move. He's a big, tall pocket passer, but built for the modern age, where everyone has to move. Pistol boot action here for Indiana, and he does a good job on the play action to freeze the backers for a second, allowing the under route to get open. But Mendoza wants more, whipping this to the comeback route with his receiver still with his back to him. Beautifully flighted ball over the rusher, dropping it to the sideline for the toe tap catch. Against Bama, Indiana are running a dash concept, where the QB first sets back before rolling right into a flood concept. Bama wants to play cover 0 and rush the decision on third down, but Mendoza is simply rolling away from the pressure and can now pick on the man coverage. But that doesn't take away from the ball, choosing the hardest option and floating it to the corner for the chunk on third. And here's a great throw on sprint option. UCLA blankets the pick route he's working towards, so Mendoza works to the backside crosser, darting a ball past 4 different defenders to find the score. This video is sponsored by Prize Picks. The NBA season is nearing crunch time, and baseball is just around the corner. And Prize Picks is the best place to win cash while watching live sports. The app is incredibly easy to use. To create a lineup, all you have to do is pick more or less on a few player stats, and you're on your way to winning cash prizes. You can play Prize Picks in over 40 states, including California and Texas. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get filthy bucks in lineups just for playing. So download the app and use our promo code THINKING to get $50 in lineups now. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Physical traits are required for the pros, but the game of quarterbacking is played between the ears, and how you read, react, and anticipate is what gets you paid. We've covered anticipation already, but you'll see it continue through this section. However, here I want to focus on his reading. Starting with the quick game, there's the necessary processing speed to read key defender and fire fast to the open man. Indiana ran a lot of spacing concepts, a 3-level horizontal stretch at the underneath level, and Mendoza excelled at it. Here, they add a motion to complicate the look for Ohio State, and seeing downs clamp down and the corners stay high, finds the out in rhythm for the first. And against Oregon, it's an NFL favorite stick spacing, and more good reading from Fernando. Oregon clamps the stick side in Tampa 2, and seeing this, he knows the mic is hanging back into the hole, allowing the hook over the ball to be found quickly. However, this offense is also heavily RPO dependent. While these help build precise placement, they aren't testing a QB's ability to read and react to the coverage as a whole, often simply counting numbers and choosing run or pass. With RPOs substantially less effective in the NFL, more on that later, they take away from a QB's development by taking up a significant amount of snaps, something that definitely ate into Mendoza's real pass attempts. The game isn't all played in a 6-yard box, and you've got to be able to stretch the field with good reading too. Here, Mendoza shows great signs of aggression and reading safety rotation. Double end zone posts for Indiana, and Mendoza's got his eyes on the safeties. They both sync to take away the goal line passes and sees the first post get undercut, but knows he has a window to the second. Good placement to put this up for his man, getting it over the hanging safety for the score. This time, eyes on the safety create a shot and a score. Michigan State are in quarters, so the corners are on the 1s, the safeties and overhangs watching the 2s, and the mic on the 3. Indiana has the perfect play called with the Mills concept, where they add a switch release to make the numbers more difficult to read and make sure the safety clamps on the over, and the post is now running free. Clean pocket, good read, and this is going to the crib. More good safety reading here in crunch time against Penn State. Backed up on second, he spots them go from 2 high to 1 high and knows the seam will be open. The line gives in, but Mendoza stands tall, releasing this as the slot gets equal with the backer level, timing it to the gap. And this ball versus Iowa is my favorite of the whole bunch. Mendoza reads the safety rotate down and feels the linebackers cross blitz, and he knows he's facing a fire zone pressure, and the weakness is the seams. The rush bursts through, yet Mendoza keeps the radar locked on, firing a missile while getting his head taken off. Franchise quarterback. Defenses are trying their best, and in the pros, they're going to take away your first option often. So being able to work through progressions is paramount. Mendoza showed good rhythm and ability to work front to back side, although intermediate reads could see the eyes get a little laggy. His ability to work through his reads rewards him with a touchdown in the Peach Bowl. At the top of your screen, they motion into a switch smash, trying to get Oregon confused, but the DBs distribute well, and the corner route won't flash open until late. So he comes backside to the switch posts, where Elijah Surratt has wrong-footed the safety, firing fast for the catch on the back line. Working front side to back has to happen in rhythm, and this is good work to have fast eyes for a hitch. His eyes start on the safety, and seeing him backpedal to a single high, knows he has cover 3 and looks at the seam, but the safety is too far over, so has to work backside. They have a spacing concept called, and he knows the gap between hook and flat is the read, hitting it quick for the turn and first. And checkdowns are king. The reasoning is simple. If the defense has done their job to take away your other options, the checkdown is going to be in space. And all it takes is one broken tackle, and you've got a chunk play. With an even bigger gulf between O-line and D-line talent, modern quarterbacks are expected to make plays off schedule. Mendoza might be built like a pocket passer, but his movement skills are fluid and evasive, avoiding rushers and extending plays, able to get his eyes back up and find the open man. This is great work versus Penn State when the blitz overwhelms the right side, quick footing away from the pressure and escaping left. He turns the corner as if he's going to run for the conversion, but keeps his eyes up and spots 80 leaking free, flipping his hips to find him for the first. And this is a nice escape from quick internal pressure. By the time the concept opens, both D tackles have got through, leaving no chance to read. But he does an excellent job to work up and through, splitting the defenders to keep the play alive. The eyes get back up when he sees a linebacker in his path, finding his wideout for the first. This working up and through leads to some excellent scrambles. Oregon run a zero pop on third down, rushing any chance to read on the long downs. But Mendoza doesn't panic, spotting a gap and working up and through, turning on the burners to keep the drive alive. And here it is with the difficulty turned up again. Bama shows 0, but drops into cover 2, taking away Indiana's spacing concept. Mendoza rightfully double clutches, working backside and away from the interior pressure. However, nothing is open there either. Smartly, he redirects inside to not get caught by the end, and then somehow weaves a path through the traffic, delivering some Heisman magic as he dives for the first. The legs mean you can involve him in the run game too, and he seems to have the frame to absorb hits, even if he does expose his body too often. He'll be an effective goal line runner, where you can get him involved in option calls and RPO looks. They loved calling the QB draw for him too, especially on third, putting the down on their best player's back and letting him weave through less traffic from spread sets. And on the biggest stage, in the biggest moment, they went to this concept. Mendoza jukes one for the first, but isn't satisfied, lowering the shoulder and bouncing his way off 2 more attempts, finally diving for the goal line. This man will not be denied. Now, no rookie enters the NFL with a complete game, and Mendoza is no exception. The negatives fall into correctable areas, but are aspects that really limit the ceiling if not corrected. First, the mechanics, and certain ways in which they waver. Mendoza is a full hip rotation thrower, meaning he brings his right hip all the way through, almost stepping through with the throw, with his right leg ending ahead of his left. Now, that's not to say that's the only mechanics you can use to generate velocity, just those that Mendoza employs. However, these mechanics don't always hold on the deep ball, and it's likely the reason he left a few short. He's got a post shot here against Iowa and is in rhythm with the cut, but the weight transfer is poor, and he's leaning back on the release. There's no big hip rotation through despite the clean pocket, and he's losing power, leaving this well short of the intended target. Here it is on the dash concept versus Oregon. He's got a clean pocket to launch from, and is going to test the deep option, attempting the pylon route, but he never gets a good weight transfer into the throw, leaning back on the release and never rotating through. Consequently, this ball falls 5 yards short of pace. The same problem bit him in the Big Ten championship game. The safety flies over to get over the go route from the number 1, and Mendoza has a post route open with no deep protection. He gets more rotation this time, but look how much he's leaning his weight back, taking the power out of the throw and leaving this behind. I know he has the accuracy and strength to hit these throws, because he did it earlier in the game. The post comes open against the Tampa 2, and he's hitching up and launching. Much better weight transfer this time, bringing that hip right the way through despite the incoming rush. Pinpoint placement on third, and the field is flipped. The second area of concern is a 2-parter, and probably my biggest question in his game. While anticipation layers in abundance to the sideline, You may have noticed a distinct lack of intermediate throws to the middle of the field. That's not to say he can't throw them or complete them. There are some good reps. However, his eyes are drastically slower here, and his anticipation for the route breaking open seems to fall out of line. This is poor reading against Purdue that really should have resulted in an interception. He's got his eyes glued to the over route the entire time and needs to see that the corner has this covered, especially when he takes underneath leverage. This route has cleared space for the dig, and the corner slips for double credits. If he gets his eyes to it, this is going to be a field flipper. But he forces the over and is very lucky that this isn't picked. A concept he struggled on was the dagger concept, something he's gonna need to learn to throw at the pro level as it's so common around the league. This concept sees an inside receiver run a go route to clear out the coverage and a dig route into the created space, and then usually some sort of grab route underneath, designed to take the attention of the linebacking level away from the dig window, acting as a part of the progression if the backers drop to cut off the dig. It works perfectly here against UCLA, with the deep over clearing out the coverage, the grab route pulling two lurking defenders towards it, leaving a shot to the dig route. But Mendoza never pulls the trigger, feeling the rush despite the D-line getting so narrow you could hide them all under a picnic blanket, leaving the pocket and missing the chance. And again, this is why stats aren't a great way to measure stuff, because UCLA completely loses their matchups when Mendoza starts to scramble, leaving a wide open shot to the original number 1 read. This might go down in the box score as 6, but on the scouting sheet, this is a negative snap. Here it is against Penn State, where the dig again comes open, but we just don't get a throw. Mendoza doesn't like the look of the bench concept, so comes backside to the dagger and is presented with a perfect look. The Mike has to carry the clear out route in Tampa too, and the dig is going to break into a huge intermediate hole for the catch and run. But Mendoza never lets it fly, getting his attention taken by the rush despite a clean pocket, scrambling his way into a sack. And once more against UCLA, where the eyes don't stay with the concept long enough, spooked by the pressure. They do a better job to shut the dig, but Indiana has a small modification here, with the grab player running a pivot route, allowing them to pivot back to the boundary and away from the coverage after they hitch up. If Mendoza sticks with the read, he can find the pivot breaking back away from the coverage and into acres of space. But the rush has him twitchy, his eyes drop, and he's off scrambling and should easily be short of the third. But more horrendous UCLA defense leads to a first down. Staying tall and eyes up through pressure is required to play at the next level, and he's certainly brave when pressure is inevitable. But too often on tape, he sees a glimpse of color, and his eyes drop to the rush. Against Oregon, he's got more double posts to read in the end zone, and the second one needs to be fired at the cut, and it's likely a score. However, you can see Mendoza feel the rush off the right edge and drop his eyes to spy it when green flashes inside the tackle. He's got to be able to stand tall and deliver here, and he'll get this out before the rush can get home. But the flash is enough to scare him, and he's bailing outright, sailing this over everyone's head when he realizes nothing's open. Against Penn State, Indiana rocket motioned the back out into a 4-strong spacing concept, with the solo side running a go route. This is where Mendoza starts with his read, looking to be aggressive, but the corner blanks the route, and he needs to work to the spacing concept, where he has a receiver wide open. Instead, he's late working back to it and gets his eyes down to look at the rush instead of his next read. This again sends him into scramble mode, and this time the Nittany Lions show us how to tackle. My last concern is not a straight Mendoza issue, but how reliant this offense is on RPOs. The RPO gives the quarterback 2 options, a run or pass, either deciding based on a pure numbers count pre-snap or how a key defender acts post-snap. Prioritize the pass, the ball is handed off. Join the run fit, and the QB pulls the ball and fires at the space. The trend reached the NFL about a decade ago, but has largely fallen out of favor as teams worked out how to defend them, knowing they could force a decision in one direction, then rally to stop it. However, they remain as popular as ever in college due to a subtle rules difference. The ineligible man downfield rule states the distance a lineman can cross the line of scrimmage when not engaged in a block. In the NFL, this is limited to only 1 yard. In college, it's extended to 3. This means the sell of the run action is substantially higher, and defenders can't hang in passing lanes and fit late. opening up all manner of easy passing options. Because of this rule, many QB's tape is full of wide open passes that are not really worth grading. The short area accuracy is nice to see, but honestly, this is a prerequisite to be an NFL QB. It's time college got in line with the NFL on this one, as the RPO is eating into dropback snaps and limiting QB development. And while we're talking about teams, Mendoza was very fortunate to play behind an excellent offensive line at Indiana. There are very few lines in the NFL that will provide such a wall, so he's going to be playing under more pressure no matter where he lands. Fernando Mendoza looks like a quarterback gifted from the heavens to a team with the #1 pick. A prototypical pocket passer with excellent anticipation, combined with movement skills for the modern era. But scratch below the surface, and imperfections start to show, with improvement needed in his midfield reading and eye discipline with the rush. Stuff that could drastically affect his ceiling. The core of a franchise QB is there, but pairing him with the right coach is real important, helping the talent shine through on the biggest stage.